So earlier, you heard me talk about a more generic architecture for LLM mesh. What I'm going to dive into right now is what we're doing to make that more of a reality. Right now at Dataiku, and actually always at Dataiku, we have had a clicker. Anybody got a clicker? Cool, great, all right. Had a coffee, we're doing good. All right, so at Dataiku, since the very beginning, I joined here around 9 years ago, right when we were getting our first clients in the United States, and the underlying, I would say, paradigm for what and why we build the features that we build into this tool has not changed. Dataiku has always been, first and foremost, about the people inside of a company. Without you, it's just data, I think was one of our catchphrases for a while. And what I mean by people is that we have always tried to build a platform that supports the full range of skill sets inside of a data team. So low code, no code, and high code people should all be able to work together inside of the same platform to build the tools and the resources that you need. We don't want to leave anyone behind, and we don't want to hold anyone back, and that's really what Dataiku as a tool is about. On top of people, yes, you do need data. Your data is important. Dataiku provides access to basically every possible type of structured data, as well as access to most unstructured data, whether that's images, documents, etc. We provide access to a wide variety of different compute engines. Back when I joined, I think I mentioned before, it was all Hadoop. Now people are still using Spark, but it's often Spark on Kubernetes or Databricks or something like Snowflake. And wherever that data resides, whether that's on-prem or in any of the 3 clouds. On top of people and data, we need governance. If I'm providing a wide variety of people access to a wide variety of data, I better know exactly who's getting access to what and what they're doing with it. We have a full governance lifecycle and actually a separate governance tool in place to ensure that these things happen. And then finally, your technology. We know that as the world evolves and technology evolves, you're going to need to change the underlying infrastructure every couple of years. Heck, you might be changing your underlying LLM tools every couple of weeks. We promise to you that we will evolve with the market so that you can focus on your people using your data in a governed fashion, and we'll focus on the underlying changing infrastructure. You're not building your new vertical stack every couple of years and retraining all your employees. So we've really been making these same underlying needs and driving our decisions based on these needs since I've been here. And that hasn't changed with the advent of LLMs. So what are we working on right now? This is going to be a bit of a roadmap for H2 of this year, some of H1 of next year, as well as talking about some new features that have just become available. We have 3 key dimensions that we're trying to evolve right now. One, of course, is enterprise-grade Gen AI, which is probably what you've heard about for 80% of the day so far. But we're not walking away from ensuring that we continue the democratization of the use of our tool itself. So we're adding lots of tools, both through Gen AI as well as just updating existing features to make sure that data analysts, data scientists, citizen data scientists can all work within it in the most effective way possible. Finally, for governance, we are updating our XOps. I'll talk a little bit more later about what XOps is to make sure that everything is safe, and also make sure that as you roll these things out for future releases, you are abiding by new regulations coming into play, especially in the EU. So if you're a multinational corporation, you need to abide by EU regulations. There's the joke that the US comes up with it, China builds it, and then the EU regulates it. It's technically true right now, and we need to be ready to deal with that. So let's talk about the first one here, enterprise-grade generative AI. You heard me speak before about what needs to go into, from an architectural perspective, into Gen AI applications. You start on the left-hand side with underlying API services, vector stores, your compute, your self-hosted LLMs, LLM API services, which feed into generative AI applications, which are built of tools combined into an agent and then exposed to end users in some type of web app or into an existing tool. All of these Gen AI applications then need to be integrated into some type of operationalization process. So, how are we helping you do that? Let's start from the bottom. You heard about the LLM mesh architecture paradigm before in the morning keynote that I did. This is the Dataiku LLM mesh. We built the LLM mesh to enable choice among a growing number of generative AI services and models. We partner with every popular hosted LLM API service, as well as partnering with Hugging Face so that you can deploy open source models on your own hardware and infrastructure. These underlying models are then accessed through our AI gateway and can be leveraged inside of different Gen AI application frameworks. We have code-free builder tools for everything from existing common tasks like summarization, sentiment analysis. We have our prompt studios, which is a way of applying a prompt to a data set rather than applying a prompt to a chat. And we also have Dataiku answers, which if you were here for the demo, you might have seen a little bit, but I'm going to show more on in just a second. Finally, we have our cost guard, our safeguard, and our quality guard. I'm going to dive into detail on those three in just a moment. And over on the right-hand side, we have our Gen AI governance capabilities so that you can keep pace with regulatory requirements. All of these are available either either GA or in public preview today. Let's jump in first to our guards. So Dataiku Cost Guard, which is available today as part of our advanced LLM package, allows you to drill down into your costs at the user level, the business level, the application level, or the LLM provider level. It allows you to monitor spending, and soon, in a very few near release, it's going to allow you to proactively block spending at an individual user, group, any other kind of level. And what's great about this is that even if you're using multiple different LLM providers, let's say you have an Anthropic and you have an OpenAI, you could limit cost across both of them at the same time. You don't need to build out vertical cost limitations for each provider that you're leveraging. We also allow you to cache model responses for cost savings. Relatively simple concept there. If somebody asks the same question somebody else just asked, you don't need to hit the LLM and burn more tokens. You can just provide the same response. For Dataiku Safeguard, this allows you to set limitations, again, across different LLM providers around forbidden terms, toxicity detection, PII detection. That's coming for both the queries coming in as well as the results coming out. It also allows you to have full auditability of every query and response that's being done against any of your services. Finally, coming out soon, we're adding the ability to detect suspicious activity, such as prompt injection or jailbreak attempts. These are ways of basically getting your LLM to do things it shouldn't be doing. Dataiku Quality Guard allows for code-free evaluation metrics. I mentioned before in my talk that unlike classical machine learning algorithms, we don't yet have a single metric for quality. Regression, R2, classification, you have AUC or various other mechanisms, accuracy, whatever. We don't have that yet. So what you need is really a range of different quality tracking mechanisms that is going to evolve over time as we come up with better ways of doing this. That's what Quality Guard promises. It uses one technique which is called LLM as a judge. Essentially, what LLM as a judge is, it's actually pretty funny. Who here is familiar with the newest OpenAI release, 01? Is it 01 or 10? 01, yeah, okay, 01. What 01 is essentially doing is this LLM as a judge process on top of 4.0. So it takes the initial response that 4.0 would give you to a question, and then it asks itself, hey, do you think this was a good response? And then if it says no, then it asks it to update the response or riff on that response in some way. LLM as a judge is essentially that applied on top of any LLM that you might be trying to use underneath the covers. It is actually been shown that despite a LLM, we don't exactly know why, but despite an LLM being able to respond with a block of text, and you can ask it if it thinks it's good, and if it says no, that's actually pretty accurate that it isn't good. So it can look at itself and say, oh, I screwed this up. Weird, but true. LLM as a judge is one way, and then we also have statistical techniques that track things like drift on top of text responses. Finally, we've added low-code model fine-tuning. Fine-tuning is separate from RAG, so there's kind of two ways that you can evolve a generic LLM model. You can have RAG, which is basically allowing that model to ask additional questions of your specific data. And then you can have fine-tuning, which is essentially an evolution of a system prompt. Fine-tuning allows you to define a personality for a model, or define a set of terms that a model might need to understand, or even inspire a way that a model should respond. So, oh, your model should always respond with JSON, and it should contain this set of terms. Fine-tuning, without having to write any code, essentially means you can have a set of questions, a set of answers, throw that into the model, and now your model is going to understand those questions and answers as quality responses. We can do that without code. We can also do it with code, but that's, again, expanding the capabilities here, and that increases the quality of your results. Let's move away from the guard services to Dataiku answers. Dataiku answers is one of the most, maybe the most rapidly adopted feature that we have ever released in Dataiku. Front-end developers and app designers, especially if you're asking data scientists to do it, have always been scarce, and the results have always been a bit challenging. I know every web application I've tried to build has looked ugly as sin. Dataiku Answers provides a highly effective, highly modifiable front end to underlying LLM gateways. It embeds quotes, source citations, metadata inside of itself or inside of its responses for more confidence and trust. It allows you to turn on both endpoints for RAG as well as endpoints, most recently, for structured data. I really like this structured data endpoint feature. What it allows you to do is, let's say I have a project with a dozen data sets in it. They may or may not have joins, but this project has important data sets. As long as I've done a little bit of work on these data sets, to describe the data set overall, describes the columns in them, I can ask questions of them. It's going to generate SQL underneath the covers, hit those data sets, and then provide me English responses. This is really, really fantastic for structured data, and it very much expands the type of capabilities that LLMs can perform inside of Dataiku. Almost 100 of our customers have already implemented Dataiku Answers to get up and running with conversational questions and answers inside of their organizations. And we have several customers who have rolled this out to many thousands of users already. These conversational Q&A use cases have been developed in days, not in months. Well, or in months, not in years, depending on the complexity of the situation and the requirements of the data. So we believe that Answers is a way to very rapidly build out functional, effective bots, both on top of unstructured and structured data. This is available now, and we are rolling out updates to this at basically a bi-weekly basis. So it's actually, we're rolling out updates to this faster than we're rolling out updates to Dataiku as a product. As a small preview into a feature that's coming to you very soon, we are also rolling out an LLM registry. The core purpose of this LLM registry is for CIOs, legal, and risk teams to keep model documentation up to date, as well as rationalize which models should or should not be used for which use cases. The idea is, with tens or hundreds of use cases leveraging multi-LLM strategy, Dataiku will centralize the information about the cost, the performance, and the acceptable use of these models so teams can weigh trade-offs and make the best decisions. We keep things around even cost per token, around RAG on top of the models, around who's already using them, etc. So that's more around the enterprise LLM strategy. Next, I want to talk about how we're democratizing and accelerating usage among users of Dataiku. So it's not just about extending reach, it's about making everyone be able to go faster. We have developed and released several products, well, it's not really products, features inside the Dataiku product that enhance regular users' capabilities within the tool. One is AI-enhanced data prep. Instead of needing to know about all 90-plus different steps available to different users inside of Dataiku's prepare recipes, you can now just type English, and the correct set of steps will be generated for you and put into the prepare recipe itself. So I can say, all right, split my comma by columns, and it's going to split out all the columns and give good names for the different columns that are being generated. In addition, we have code assistance. You should know what that is. That's like the first popular use of LLMs. Any code you're writing in Dataiku has a copilot that you can leverage for faster development, documentation, etc. Finally, we have flow documentation and explanation. So flow documentation means if I've built out some big flow in Dataiku, and I want to be able to explain this quickly, what this is doing to my boss, I can either spend a couple days writing everything up, or I can hit a button in Dataiku. We understand what these flow components are. We understand what's being done at every step, and will automatically generate documentation describing your entire project. You can even choose kind of the flavor of the documentation that's built. So maybe I need general documentation. Maybe I just need an executive summary. Maybe I need highly technical responses. In addition to our basic productivity assistance that I already talked about, I have one very, very exciting new feature that I'd like to talk to you about today. This is called Dataiku Stories. If we take a step back, slide presentations, for better or worse, are still the primary way that Dataiku insights, or not Dataiku insights, but data insights in general, get delivered to business. They're often built on outdated data, screen caps of Excel spreadsheets, ugly data or Google slide off things running on local computers. It's a mess. What we have done with stories is that we are leveraging simple prompts to create dynamic presentations that update as your data changes. These dynamic presentations can be linked to Google Slides or to PowerPoint presentations so that you can type a simple query. I need to do a presentation on the past 2 months of sales performance for a sales manager, and the entire deck will get built. You can then go in, modify it, update it as necessary, and the underlying data, as it changes, your deck changes. Finally, comprehensive XOps and AI governance readiness. So how are we adding operational tools to update, govern, and maintain projects that we put into production? XOps. What is XOps? Basically, we have come to the point where all the different sub-ops have gotten too annoying to say, so we're just saying X. So we have ML ops, data ops, LLM ops, all need to be unified together into some type of generalized lifecycle management tracking. They need to be operationalized so that updates can be easily performed, and we need to be able to have it be repeatable. I can't have a different way of deploying every single time I build a new project. Dataiku XOps, we recognize that we are part of a larger ecosystem. Just because you're using Dataiku does not mean that you're only using Dataiku. For that reason, we've made sure that through our Deploy Anywhere feature, you can choose the end point of where your models have been deployed. You can develop everything in Dataiku and then choose between Azure ML, Vertex AI, SageMaker, Databricks, or Snowflake for the deployment of those models. I mentioned at the beginning AI governance in the context of unified monitoring, as well as in the Gen AI section. It's a recurring theme, but we haven't fully dived into what our product around it is. In addition to Dataiku itself and working in the tool, the way it's designed for friendly governance, we also have a separate offering called Dataiku Govern. It specifically allows for management of your AI portfolio against regulatory objectives or obligations, as well as your own governance principles inside your org. One aspect of that is our solution for the EU AI readiness. This is a fully built governance template that simplifies model mapping against the EU AI risk tiers. As the team has continued to refine and perfect the solution against the final language of the Act, the solution is still available today, and we will continue to update it as we learn more about exactly how it works and what the actual regulatory limitations are going to be. This is very important, especially across the EU in these years to come. So that's pretty much it for the product section. You've gotten a good glimpse, I hope, into the things that we're working on right now and the way we're prioritizing them. Again, we talked about Gen AI, our offerings that are help to bring more people into the fold. We've talked about democratization and access, and we've talked about XOps, including AI governance. If you want to learn more about the way our product is working, Dataiku is working on, excuse me, product days. That's going to be next week. I talk more, so if you're not sick of me yet, you can get more sick of me there. You can scan this QR code to register now. Really encourage you to check it out. I think it's going to be very valuable. And we also have many industry experts, many of our partners that we work with, including AWS, Databricks, Aimpoint, and NVIDIA. Thank you all so much, and I hope you enjoyed this.